Imagine this. You're standing at the edge of an opportunity, staring at the path that could lead to the life you've always wanted. But there's something holding you back. Maybe it's fear, maybe it's doubt, maybe it's simply a lack of energy or motivation. But no matter what it is, it's stopping you from taking that crucial step forward. How often do we find ourselves in this situation, where we know what we need to do, but we just can't bring ourselves to act? Success is not about waiting for the perfect moment, nor is it about waiting until you feel fully ready or confident. The truth is that perfection rarely exists, and the ideal conditions you imagine are often elusive. What truly drives success is the ability to take action, especially when you're unsure, uncertain, or feel unprepared. When you wait for everything to line up perfectly before you take a step forward, you delay your progress, sometimes indefinitely. The key to moving forward and achieving your goals lies in the act of forcing yourself to take action, regardless of whether everything feels perfectly aligned or not. It's easy to fall into the trap of thinking that you need to have every detail figured out before you make a move. In our minds, we believe that waiting until we are 100% prepared or confident will guarantee success. But what we often overlook is that waiting for perfection only leads to stagnation. The reality is that you will never feel entirely ready. You will never have all the answers, all the resources, or all the confidence you wish you had. What you do have, however, is the power to start. And that power, the simple act of forcing yourself to take the first step, is what creates the momentum needed to reach your destination. Taking action before you're ready is one of the most powerful moves you can make in your life. It doesn't matter if you have doubts or fears. What matters is that you act anyway. Taking action forces you to learn and adapt as you go. If you wait for everything to be perfect, you'll find yourself stuck in an endless cycle of hesitation. The longer you wait, the harder it becomes to take that first step. But once you begin, you start building the momentum that propels you forward, often in ways you couldn't have predicted. When you force yourself to take action, you overcome the mental block of perfectionism. Perfectionism is paralyzing because it sets an unrealistic standard that keeps you from moving. You might think that your work or your efforts aren't good enough yet, so you keep delaying. But the truth is that no one ever starts with a perfect execution. The process of growth and improvement happens through trial and error, through learning as you go, and by embracing imperfection. Taking that first step is the best way to break free from the chains of perfectionism and to give yourself the freedom to make mistakes and learn from them. In many cases, the first step is the hardest, but it's also the most important. It's where the breakthrough happens. You don't need to have the entire roadmap laid out in front of you. Just take one step and let that lead to the next. The more you act, the clearer the path becomes. It's like walking in the dark with just a flashlight. You may only see a few feet ahead of you, but as you take each step, more of the path reveals itself. What seemed like an overwhelming journey now becomes a series of small, manageable actions. Another important aspect of this is that taking action, even when you feel unprepared, builds confidence over time. Confidence doesn't come from waiting for the perfect moment. It comes from doing. The more you take action, the more you prove to yourself that you are capable of handling challenges, learning from mistakes, and finding solutions. Each small win, each moment of progress builds your confidence and fortifies your belief in your own abilities. You might not feel confident at first, but by forcing yourself to act, you begin to trust yourself more with every step you take. In addition to confidence, taking action early also teaches you resilience. Life rarely unfolds in a smooth, predictable way. Things don't always go as planned, and obstacles inevitably arise. When you take action, you might face setbacks, failures, but rather than being deterred by these difficulties, you learn to adapt, pivot, and continue moving forward. Resilience is built through action because it's through facing difficulties head-on that you learn the strength and perseverance needed to keep going even when things aren't easy. Without action, you don't get the chance to develop that resilience. Moreover, forcing yourself to take action allows you to gain real-world feedback. Theory and planning are helpful, but they can never replace the knowledge you gain from real experiences. When you take action, you start to see what works and what doesn't. You learn what you're good at and what you might need to improve. The more you act, the more you learn. It's in the doing that the understanding deepens, and it's through action that you uncover the knowledge, skills, and insights you need to succeed. Often we hesitate because we fear failure. We worry that the choices we make will be wrong or that we'll make mistakes. But in reality, failure is not a stop sign, it's a stepping stone. Every mistake teaches you something valuable, and every failure brings you one step closer to success. The only true failure is the failure to act. When you avoid taking action out of fear of failure, you prevent yourself from learning, growing, and improving. But when you push past that fear and take action, you give yourself the opportunity to learn, adapt, and ultimately succeed. So the next time you find yourself hesitating, waiting for the perfect moment, or thinking you're not ready, remind yourself that the key to success is not in waiting, but in taking action. Even if it feels uncomfortable, even if it feels imperfect, act anyway. The act of forcing yourself to move forward is what will propel you toward your goals, and through action you will gain the experience, confidence, and resilience you need to keep going. Don't wait for everything to fall into place. Take that first step and trust that the journey will unfold as you move forward. Procrastination is a powerful force that keeps many of us from reaching our full potential. It's a silent enemy that operates behind the scenes, convincing us that we'll have more time later or that we're not quite ready to start. It thrives on fear and self-doubt, convincing us that the right conditions haven't arrived yet, or that we'll start when things are more ideal. The reality is that procrastination is an illusion. It tells us that waiting is the answer, but in truth, it is action that propels us forward and leads us to success. We've all experienced the grip of procrastination. How many times have we put off starting a project, responding to an email, or making an important decision because we were overwhelmed or unsure? It's easy to let procrastination creep in and take hold, especially when a task feels too big or intimidating. The longer we delay, the more the pressure builds, and the more our self-doubt intensifies. We become trapped in a cycle of hesitation, which leads to even more fear and anxiety. Procrastination feeds on this fear and convinces us that if we just wait a little longer, everything will fall into place. However, the longer we wait, the more elusive the ideal conditions become. One of the most insidious aspects of procrastination is how it convinces us that there's always more time. It tricks us into thinking that we can afford to delay, but time doesn't wait for us. The clock keeps ticking, and each moment we spend hesitating is a moment we can never get back. Procrastination gives us the false sense of security that we can start later, but by the time later comes, the task is even bigger, more complicated, and harder to begin. Delaying action only makes the process more overwhelming, and that sense of urgency that we ignore today becomes a heavy burden tomorrow. The best way to fight procrastination is to act immediately. Don't wait for the perfect moment or the ideal conditions. Start right now, no matter how small the action may seem. Taking action immediately is one of the most powerful ways to break free from procrastination. Once you take that first step, the task no longer feels as intimidating. You've started, and that act of starting generates momentum. This momentum is key because it begins to propel you forward. You'll find that once you've taken the first step, the next step becomes easier, and the step after that feels more natural. Action creates clarity and purpose. The more you act, the more you understand what needs to be done and how to approach it. You'll gain insight and perspective by engaging with the task rather than avoiding it. Often, we think we need to have everything figured out before we take action, but that's not the case. The understanding and solutions emerge as we move forward. Another way procrastination works against us is by convincing us that we need to feel motivated before we can act. We wait for the inspiration to strike or the right mood to take over. However, motivation rarely arrives on its own. Motivation follows action, not the other way around. Once you start moving, you'll find that motivation comes naturally. It's in the act of doing that your energy is sparked and the momentum you create pushes you forward. This is why it's essential to force yourself to take action even when you're not feeling particularly motivated. Action is what brings the results you seek, and the more action you take, the more motivated you'll become. We also have a tendency to avoid tasks that seem difficult, tedious, or uncomfortable. Procrastination often makes us put off the hard work in favor of something easier or more pleasurable. However, the longer we avoid the difficult tasks, the more challenging they become. Avoidance does not make the task go away. It only amplifies the anxiety and makes the job harder in the long run. The best way to overcome this is by addressing the most difficult tasks first. Starting with the hardest part of a project often makes the rest of it feel much easier. By taking on the most challenging aspects head-on, you reduce the stress and anxiety that comes with postponing them. Facing the hard tasks directly allows you to gain control and make faster progress. Procrastination also feeds on the fear of failure. Many of us hesitate to act because we're afraid of making mistakes or not getting things right. But the reality is that mistakes and failures are a natural part of growth. Every successful person has faced setbacks and failures along the way. The difference is that they took action in spite of their fear, and through their actions they learned, grew, and ultimately succeeded. Procrastination keeps us stuck in the fear of failure, but action breaks through that fear. When you act, even if you make mistakes, you gain valuable experience and insight. Mistakes are not setbacks, they are stepping stones to success. By avoiding action, you're denying yourself the opportunity to learn and improve. Procrastination also thrives on the illusion of perfectionism. We often believe that we need to have everything perfect before we begin. But perfection is an impossible standard, and it only paralyzes us. Perfectionism keeps us stuck in a cycle of overthinking and second-guessing. The truth is that no task will ever be perfect, and no situation will ever be ideal. The key is to start where you are with what you have. As you take action, you can refine and improve. Progress is made through iteration, not perfection. By embracing imperfection and pushing through the discomfort of not having everything figured out, you'll make meaningful progress toward your goals. The most effective way to break free from procrastination is by simply taking action. It doesn't matter how small the action is. What matters is that you start. Once you begin, you'll find that the task isn't as overwhelming as it seemed, and the momentum you create will carry you through. Procrastination only keeps you stuck, but action leads to growth, learning, and success. Don't let fear, doubt, or perfectionism hold you back. Take that first step, no matter how small, and watch how it propels you forward. When we look at a large goal or an overwhelming project, it's easy to become paralyzed by its magnitude. The task seems so big and complex that we don't even know where to begin. The sheer scope of it can make us feel like it's insurmountable. As a result, we may procrastinate or avoid taking any action at all because the thought of tackling the entire project feels too daunting. But this is exactly where breaking the goal down into smaller, manageable tasks can make all the difference. By simplifying the process, we remove the overwhelming aspects and make the task feel more achievable. One of the main reasons large goals feel unmanageable is because they often involve many different steps, components, or aspects that seem unrelated. When viewed as a whole, the goal can appear as a mountain too tall to climb. However, when we break the goal down into its individual parts, we begin to see that each part is simply a small, manageable task on its own. This process of breaking things down is essential because it helps to eliminate the intimidation factor that comes with big goals. Instead of thinking about the goal as one massive project, we begin to see it as a series of smaller, less intimidating actions. This approach of breaking things down is useful because it provides a clear starting point. When we don't know where to begin, it's easy to feel stuck. But if we break the goal into smaller tasks, we immediately know where to start. Whether it's creating an outline, gathering resources, or taking the first step toward a larger plan, breaking things down gives us the clarity and direction we need to begin. Once we have a clear idea of where to start, taking that first step becomes much easier, and we begin to build momentum. In addition to providing clarity, breaking down goals also helps us measure progress. Large goals can feel like they're impossible to track because the finish line seems so far away. However, when we break the goal into smaller, more achievable tasks, we have tangible milestones to track. Every time we complete a task, we get one step closer to our larger goal. These small wins are motivating and encourage us to keep moving forward. They also help build a sense of accomplishment along the way. Without breaking things down, it's easy to feel like we're not making any progress, which can be discouraging. But with smaller tasks, we can celebrate our achievements and stay motivated throughout the process. Furthermore, breaking down goals can help us avoid the paralysis that often comes with perfectionism. When we look at the entire task as a whole, it can be overwhelming to think about making every aspect of it perfect. This desire for perfection can cause us to hesitate and delay taking action. But when we break the task down into smaller components, we realize that not every part of the goal needs to be perfect right away. We can focus on getting each small task done to the best of our ability, knowing that we can improve and refine as we go. This approach takes the pressure off and helps us move forward with less fear of making mistakes. One of the most powerful benefits of breaking down a large goal is that it enables us to focus on one thing at a time. When we try to juggle too many tasks at once or think about everything that needs to be done at once, it can lead to mental overload. The mind can only handle so much at a time, and trying to tackle too much at once often leads to confusion or frustration. By breaking the task into smaller components, we allow ourselves to focus on just one thing at a time. This laser focus helps us stay productive and prevents us from getting distracted by the enormity of the goal. Another significant advantage of breaking things down is that it helps reduce anxiety. When we have a large goal in front of us, it's easy to become overwhelmed by the fear of failure or the uncertainty of whether we can achieve it. But when we break that goal down into smaller steps, we can focus on the immediate task at hand without worrying about the larger picture. This approach makes the goal feel more attainable, which reduces stress and anxiety. Instead of thinking about the entire project, we simply focus on completing one small task at a time, which makes the process feel more manageable and less daunting. Additionally, breaking goals down makes it easier to identify obstacles and challenges along the way. When we view a large goal in its entirety, we may not be able to see the potential difficulties that lie ahead. However, as we break the goal into smaller tasks, we can anticipate potential roadblocks or challenges with greater clarity. This allows us to proactively plan for those challenges and come up with strategies to overcome them. When we face obstacles, we'll have a clearer understanding of how to handle them, making it easier to stay on track and keep progressing. In terms of time management, breaking goals into smaller tasks can also help us allocate our time more efficiently. Instead of spending hours staring at a huge project, unsure of how to tackle it, we can allocate specific time blocks to work on each smaller task. This ensures that we're using our time productively and steadily making progress toward our goal. By focusing on one task at a time, we can manage our time better, avoid procrastination, and remain disciplined in our approach. Over time, these consistent small actions compound, leading us to the successful completion of the larger goal. Finally, breaking down goals helps us maintain focus on the process rather than just the outcome. It's easy to get fixated on the end result and become discouraged when it feels too far out of reach. But when we focus on completing smaller tasks, we shift our attention to the present moment. This makes the process of working toward the goal more enjoyable and fulfilling. By breaking things down, we stay engaged in the journey and celebrate each small victory along the way, rather than fixating on the distant end result. The next time you face a large, overwhelming goal, remember that the key to success is not in tackling the entire task at once, but in breaking it down into smaller, manageable parts. By doing so, you'll gain clarity, momentum, and a sense of accomplishment, all of which will help you stay on track and ultimately achieve your larger goal. Breaking things down makes the impossible seem possible, and the process of achieving something big becomes a series of small, focused actions that lead to success. Setting deadlines is one of the most effective ways to create a sense of urgency and discipline in our work. Without deadlines, it's easy to procrastinate, become distracted, or delay tasks indefinitely. The structure and accountability that deadlines provide push us to take action, stay focused, and make tangible progress toward our goals. Deadlines act as a driving force, removing the luxury of time that procrastination so often thrives on. By setting clear, specific deadlines, we force ourselves to focus on the task at hand and reduce the temptation to put things off. The importance of deadlines lies in their ability to create a sense of urgency. When there is no time limit attached to a task, it can feel as though there is no real pressure to complete it. It's easy to tell ourselves that we have all the time in the world, that we can start tomorrow or next week. However, this often leads to unnecessary delays, and we find ourselves scrambling at the last minute to finish. Deadlines eliminate this complacency by giving us a concrete time frame in which to work. The closer the deadline approaches, the more focused and determined we become. This urgency helps us cut through distractions and stay committed to the task. One of the primary reasons deadlines are so effective is that they create accountability. Without a deadline, we can easily fall into the trap of telling ourselves that we'll do it eventually. But when we have a specific date or time frame in mind, we know that we are responsible for meeting that deadline. This external pressure, whether it's imposed by a boss, a client, or ourselves, forces us to stay accountable to our commitments. The sense of responsibility that comes with a deadline encourages us to take action and follow through. It helps prevent procrastination by giving us a clear target to aim for and a finite period in which to accomplish the task. Deadlines also help to break large, complex tasks into manageable parts. When we face a big project, it can often feel overwhelming, especially when there's no clear endpoint. But when we set deadlines for smaller components of the task, we create a series of manageable milestones. This approach makes the project feel less daunting because we know we don't have to complete everything at once. Each step becomes a clear, achievable goal in its own right. As we hit these smaller deadlines, we gain a sense of progress and achievement, which keeps us motivated and moving forward toward the larger goal. Moreover, deadlines provide us with an opportunity to prioritize our tasks. When there is no time pressure, it's easy to get caught up in non-essential tasks that don't contribute to our main objective. Deadlines, however, force us to focus on the most important tasks that need to be completed first. They help us distinguish between tasks that are urgent and those that can wait. By setting clear deadlines, we ensure that we stay on track and avoid getting sidetracked by less important activities. This prioritization helps us work more efficiently and use our time wisely, making sure we're always moving toward the completion of the task. Another advantage of deadlines is that they help us measure progress. Without a deadline, it can be difficult to assess how far we've come or how much further we have to go. Deadlines, on the other hand, provide a clear timeline that allows us to gauge our progress. As the deadline approaches, we can track how much work remains and adjust our efforts accordingly. If we're falling behind schedule, the deadline serves as a reminder that we need to focus more and increase our productivity. This regular feedback helps us stay on track and avoid last-minute stress. Deadlines also encourage us to act with purpose. When there's no urgency, it's easy to work aimlessly or procrastinate because we don't feel the pressure of time. Deadlines, however, push us to work with intent and make every moment count. We're no longer tempted to waste time or second-guess ourselves. With a deadline in place, we make decisions quickly and take action without overthinking. This quick decision-making leads to greater productivity and efficiency as we stop waiting for the perfect time or for everything to be ideal. Deadlines force us to take imperfect action and keep moving forward, which ultimately leads to better results. One of the most crucial benefits of deadlines is that they help us avoid the trap of perfectionism. Perfectionism often leads to procrastination because we are afraid of not doing something perfectly. We worry about every detail and hesitate to start until everything is just right. However, deadlines force us to act within a specific time frame, which helps us overcome the desire to perfect every little thing. By focusing on completing the task by the deadline rather than making it perfect, we learn to accept that good enough is often enough. This mindset shift allows us to move forward without getting bogged down by unnecessary perfectionism. Setting deadlines also allows us to reflect on our work and make improvements along the way. As we approach the deadline, we can evaluate our progress and identify areas where we need to improve or adjust our approach. Deadlines provide a built-in structure for reviewing and refining our work. This reflection process helps us identify mistakes early on and correct them before they become larger issues. We can use the time leading up to the deadline to make tweaks and adjustments, ensuring that we submit or complete the task with the highest quality possible within the given time frame. Finally, deadlines teach us the value of time. In a world where distractions are abundant, it's easy to lose track of time or waste it on unimportant activities. Deadlines, however, force us to prioritize our time and stay focused on the task at hand. When we have a clear deadline, we are less likely to get distracted or waste time on things that don't matter. The time pressure created by the deadline sharpens our focus and pushes us to use our time efficiently. As we work toward meeting deadlines, we develop better time management skills that can be applied to other areas of our lives, allowing us to be more productive and organized in the future. Setting deadlines is one of the most powerful tools for overcoming procrastination and maintaining focus. Deadlines create a sense of urgency, accountability, and purpose, which propel us to take action and stay on track. By breaking down large tasks into smaller components, prioritizing our time, and focusing on progress rather than perfection, deadlines help us work more efficiently and achieve our goals. Whether self-imposed or external, deadlines are a key factor in turning our intentions into reality. They help us transform big dreams into concrete achievements by providing structure, motivation, and clarity. We often think that success comes from finding the perfect plan or waiting for the right opportunity, but the truth is that success is driven by consistent, focused action. The key to achieving any goal is the willingness to do the work, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant the tasks may appear. Success is not reserved for those who wait for the perfect moment or who have the most elaborate plans. It belongs to those who show up, take consistent action, and put in the effort day after day. Whether it's working toward a career goal, personal growth, or building a business, the act of doing is what ultimately determines success. Taking consistent action doesn't mean that everything will always go according to plan. There will be obstacles, mistakes, and setbacks along the way. However, it's not about avoiding mistakes, but learning from them and continuing to push forward. Consistency doesn't require perfection, it requires persistence. Each day that you put in the effort, even if it's just a small step, you're building momentum. Small actions, when compounded over time, lead to significant progress. The key is to maintain that momentum no matter how slow or small the steps may seem. Success is also about understanding that no action is too small to be worthwhile. Often we get caught up in the idea that a task must be big or impactful to matter. We might delay action because we feel that what we're doing isn't enough to make a difference. But this kind of thinking only holds us back. Every action, no matter how small, moves us closer to our goal. Whether it's a single email, a brief meeting, or a small task completed, each action adds up over time. Success is built on the foundation of these small, consistent actions. Another important aspect of consistent action is discipline. Discipline is what allows us to continue showing up and doing the work even when we don't feel like it. Motivation can fluctuate, and there will be days when we don't feel inspired or energized to work. Discipline is what keeps us moving forward even during the tough days when motivation is low. It's easy to start something when we're excited, but consistency requires the ability to push through the moments when the excitement fades. Building discipline takes time, but once you cultivate it, it becomes an essential tool in achieving any goal. Action also provides feedback. One of the biggest challenges in achieving goals is the uncertainty that comes with starting something new. We often don't know if what we're doing is the right approach or if we're on the right path. But when we take action, we begin to get feedback, whether it's results, experiences, or lessons learned. This feedback allows us to adjust our strategy and fine-tune our approach. Without taking action, we remain in the dark, unsure of what works and what doesn't. Taking consistent action gives us the information we need to make informed decisions and improve our efforts over time. Along with feedback comes the opportunity for growth. When we act, we learn. When we try and fail, we gain knowledge. Every action, whether it leads to success or failure, teaches us something valuable. We grow by pushing ourselves, experimenting with different methods, and refining our approach. Action is the gateway to progress, and without it, we remain stagnant. We can read all the books, listen to all the podcasts, and attend all the seminars, but it's the action that truly transforms knowledge into results. The more we act, the more we learn, and the more we grow. One of the reasons consistent action is so crucial is that it helps us build a habit. When we show up consistently, we make progress a part of our daily routine. This consistency creates momentum and makes success more attainable. The habit of action becomes ingrained in our daily life, and over time it becomes second nature. The more we take action, the easier it becomes to keep taking action, and the less we have to rely on willpower or motivation to keep us going. Habitual action leads to steady progress, and before we know it, we've moved much further than we ever imagined. There is also a compounding effect that comes with consistent action. In the early stages of working toward a goal, the progress may seem slow or insignificant. We might wonder if we're making any difference at all, but as we continue to take action, the results begin to compound. Small improvements, when done consistently over time, lead to substantial changes. This is the power of compounding, where incremental progress adds up to big results. Whether it's building a business, learning a new skill, or making personal improvements, consistent action eventually leads to breakthroughs. It may take time, but if you stick to it, you'll see the fruits of your labor. It's also important to remember that consistent action helps us to stay focused. In a world full of distractions, it's easy to get sidetracked by the next shiny object or lose focus on our original goal. But consistent action keeps us aligned with our priorities and reminds us of the steps we need to take. Every time we take action, we reaffirm our commitment to our goal. It's easy to get off track when we lack routine or discipline, but consistency provides the structure we need to stay on course. Furthermore, consistent action helps us build confidence. Every step we take, no matter how small, reinforces our belief in our ability to achieve our goals. It's easy to feel overwhelmed or uncertain at the beginning of a journey, but as we take consistent steps, we prove to ourselves that we can handle challenges and make progress. This confidence propels us forward, making it easier to tackle bigger challenges as we go. The more we take action, the more we believe in our own capabilities, and this belief fuels our momentum. Finally, consistent action helps us avoid overthinking. One of the biggest barriers to success is the tendency to overanalyze or wait for the perfect plan. We get caught in the trap of perfectionism, constantly revising and tweaking our ideas without ever actually starting. Consistent action takes us out of the realm of overthinking and into the realm of doing. When we take action, we stop worrying about what might go wrong and start focusing on what we can do right now. This shift in focus is key to overcoming the inertia that often holds us back. In the end, success is not reserved for those who wait for the perfect time or the perfect plan. It belongs to those who are willing to show up, take consistent action, and put in the work no matter how small the steps may seem. Each action, no matter how insignificant it feels at the moment, moves us closer to our goal. Consistency is the key to turning our intentions into reality, and the more we act, the more we learn, grow, and progress toward the success we desire. One of the most critical aspects of achieving any meaningful goal is understanding that success is not a one-time event, but a journey that requires continuous effort and determination. Many people make the mistake of thinking that achieving their goal will be the point at which their hard work ends. However, the reality is that achieving a goal is only the beginning of a new phase of growth and challenge. The moment we achieve what we set out to do, we are faced with new responsibilities, opportunities, and challenges that require us to keep growing. The real secret to long-term success is the commitment to continuous improvement. When we reach a goal, it's tempting to think that the hard work is over. After all, we've made it. We've achieved what we set out to do. However, once we reach one goal, we are often faced with the need to set a new one. Success is not a finish line, but a stepping stone to greater things. If we stop once we've reached a goal, we limit ourselves and close off the potential for further progress. The true key to sustained success is to keep evolving, to always be looking for the next step forward, and to embrace a mindset of lifelong growth. Continuous improvement is what separates those who achieve short-term success from those who maintain it over the long haul. It's easy to become complacent once we've reached a certain level of success. After all, it feels good to relax and take a break after months or years of hard work. But the reality is that complacency can quickly lead to stagnation. The world is always changing, and so are the challenges we face. If we stop evolving and improving, we run the risk of falling behind. Those who continue to improve, learn, and grow are the ones who remain relevant and successful. The process of continuous improvement involves looking at every aspect of our life or business with a critical eye. It requires self-reflection, analysis, and a willingness to acknowledge where we can do better. It can sometimes be uncomfortable to confront our weaknesses or areas where we've been less than perfect. However, it's through this honest self-assessment that we can identify opportunities for growth. The most successful individuals are those who can regularly reflect on their progress, learn from their experiences, and apply those lessons to move forward. Continuous improvement also requires adaptability. The world around us is constantly changing, and to stay successful, we must be able to adapt to those changes. This could mean adjusting our strategies, learning new skills, or staying open to new ideas. The best way to ensure we are improving is to remain flexible and open-minded, knowing that there are always new tools, techniques, and ideas that can help us work smarter, not harder. Those who are adaptable are not only able to handle change, but can use it to their advantage. One key to continuous improvement is the idea of incremental progress. Many people are intimidated by the idea of massive changes or big leaps, but the truth is that small, consistent improvements can lead to significant long-term results. Instead of trying to make dramatic, immediate changes, focus on small improvements that can compound over time. These incremental gains are often more sustainable and less overwhelming than large, immediate changes. The consistent effort to make small improvements adds up, leading to significant transformation over time. Another important element of continuous improvement is developing a growth mindset. A growth mindset is the belief that our abilities and intelligence are not fixed, but can be developed through dedication and hard work. People with a growth mindset are more likely to seek challenges, embrace failures as learning experiences, and remain committed to their personal and professional growth. On the other hand, those with a fixed mindset tend to avoid challenges, give up easily, and see failures as a reflection of their abilities. To truly embrace continuous improvement, we must shift our mindset from one of limitation to one of possibility. When we believe that we can always improve, we open ourselves up to endless opportunities for growth. Continuous improvement also involves feedback. Feedback, whether from others or from our own experiences, provides valuable insights into where we can improve. It allows us to adjust our approach and make the necessary changes to stay on track. Constructive criticism is not something to fear. Rather, it is an opportunity to learn and grow. Those who embrace feedback and use it as a tool for growth are more likely to experience long-term success. Feedback keeps us humble, grounded, and focused on the areas that require attention. In addition to feedback, continuous improvement also relies on setting new goals. Once we achieve one goal, it's important to set the next one. Goals provide direction and purpose, and having a series of goals allows us to maintain momentum. Setting new goals challenges us to keep growing and evolving, preventing us from becoming stagnant or complacent. Every time we achieve a goal, it's an opportunity to reassess our values, priorities, and aspirations. By setting new, more challenging goals, we keep ourselves engaged and motivated. Another important aspect of continuous improvement is the ability to stay disciplined and persistent. While it's easy to start a new project or goal with excitement and energy, the real challenge lies in maintaining that energy over time. Success requires consistent effort, even when things get tough or we encounter obstacles. It's easy to quit when progress seems slow or when we hit a roadblock, but persistence is what separates the successful from the unsuccessful. Those who are able to keep going even when things get hard are the ones who ultimately achieve long-term success. Continuous improvement also involves maintaining a balance between work and rest. While it's important to remain focused and dedicated to improvement, it's equally important to recognize the value of rest and recovery. Taking time to recharge and reflect allows us to approach challenges with a clearer mind and a renewed sense of energy. It's important to recognize that rest is not a sign of weakness or complacency, but a necessary component of sustainable success. By finding a balance between working hard and taking time to rest, we can ensure that we have the energy and focus needed to keep improving. Finally, continuous improvement requires a deep sense of purpose. It's not enough to simply improve for the sake of improvement. We must have a clear understanding of why we are striving to grow. Our purpose drives us and provides the motivation to continue when times are tough. When we are clear on our purpose, we are more committed to the process of continuous improvement and less likely to give up when faced with obstacles. A strong sense of purpose keeps us focused on our goals and helps us stay motivated for the long journey ahead.